Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
Troy Ganter is a restaurateur. He is most importantly a sober dude, and I'm going to call him a Renaissance man. He lives, walks, and breathes the program. One of the most incredible things about his story, and there's a lot of incredible stuff, is the fact that he has found a way to navigate a sober life, and I'm talking about a real sober life, in the restaurant industry. I think a lot of people in the restaurant industry can wrestle with a life of sobriety, especially when they're in the restaurant industry drinking and using. It's like, how do I get to that other side and stay in this business? Troy talks about that honestly and openly. He doesn't have a secret recipe, or maybe he does. You'll have to listen. But he owns the bar, Papa's Raw Bar, in Lighthouse Point, Florida, and he's the man. This conversation was beyond all expectations. My friend Matt Midget, who I love and was with this weekend with 4 of my friends from college, was the guy who put us together. And yeah, Troy's the man. So enjoy it. But first, Kevin Souza. Troy, first of all, thank you so much for your pay. This was a test to see if you were spiritually fit or not. And you
work in progress, my man.
You passed the test.
I hope it's not a sign because I'm trying to get my act together here.
So I want to go backwards before we go forwards. What is your sobriety date?
September 30th, 2016. I'll be coming up on 7 years in September.
All right. Now I know for the first part of your story that I think is awesome is that you worked in the restaurant industry. Now, anybody that's worked in the restaurant industry, you still do, right? But knows that there's a lot of temptation and a lot of, trappings for folks. When you got sober, or I guess when you got sober, you were like, I can never do that again. I think a lot of, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of people when they get sober think that they'll never be able to return to, some of the environments that, got them drunk and high. I think you're a great example of when you get sober, you can be as free as you want with your life and with what you're doing, as long as you are, like, to be cliche, but spiritually fit, right?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge. Getting sober is difficult, but that first year or two was extremely challenging. And being a restaurant owner, I had some of my highlights in that restaurant in my career as a restaurateur. So after getting sober, I really tried to do everything outside of that restaurant. I didn't know I had anxiety until I got sober, and going to work really brought that anxiety on. And it was very different for me. I used to think anxiety was for weak people, and here I am trying to run and manage my own business, and I had a hard time showing up to work. So that's very difficult. I'm a proud man, a family guy, and I started to try to find my life outside of the restaurant. So it was a tremendous challenge.
How did you cope with it early on? Because my story is like, I didn't have anything going. So when I got sober, I went to rehab. Then they told me I should go somewhere else. I went to a recovery house. Then I lived for a while with another sober dude. I would imagine if I had the opportunities like you had, I probably would have tried to find a way to weave it all in together. How did you weave it all in together? You said it was challenging. How did you cope with the challenges?
It took time. I think it was just a lot of hard work and effort. Talk about two things you really have control over: is attitude and effort. But the first 2 years, really trying to find that balance. And at that time, my wife, kind of our relationship got worse. Here I thought I'm a sober man. Woe is me. Everything was going to work out.
Yeah.
And I dropped the drink and the drug, and I kind of felt like my wife liked me even less, which was hard to say because I was I don't know if you're on a curse. I turned into a piece of shit towards the end of my my active days running out there. And that was really tough. And the same thing kind of happened at work. So I really had to start off by setting those healthy boundaries and really focusing on myself, which is very difficult because I don't think I'm a selfish person until you kind of shine a flashlight on it. And I can tend to be selfish and manipulative and, all those fun things you learn in this process. It just took time. And it took a lot of hard work diving into for me, the big book, working with other people in recovery, and really kind of tapping into what all my weaknesses were, that are now my strengths. So it's probably one of the most challenging things to do is to get clean and then to stay clean. And, here it's been 6 years, and I feel like not starting all over, but I feel like I finally got my act together. It's funny you mentioned this with being spiritually fit, and I used to try and worry about mentally, physically, and spiritually. Very important to me. I got into this because I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I really, if you ask me one thing that I wanted, I just wanted to be happy. And, I thought by making other people happy and, people pleasing and everybody high and drunk and being the life of the party, I thought that was it. And in hindsight, I was just really lost for a long time. So here I am today. I'm trying to work on that spiritual fitness.
Well, and you're giving it away right now. I want to talk about how sort of cosmic how you and I are talking at this moment. I was with our mutual buddy, Matt Midget, and we were, I went to see Matt with four of my college buddies, and he just packed in the greatest trip, for us up in Cashiers, North Carolina. But we were out by this waterfall, and I was like, it's free. He was talking about how cold the water was, and, we're out there like hiking. And I was like, do you cold plunge? And he was like, no, my buddy Troy, has cold plunge. And he looks at me, he's like, he's sober. I'm like, dude, I know Troy. Like we're connected, social media wise. And then I was like, I gotta see if he can make time and come on this podcast and chat about sobriety. And Matt was like singing your praises, and I his word is bond. So I was like, I got to do this. And now here you and I are talking, which is pretty awesome. And he said a lot of great things about you. And I want to go back into how, you became who you are today. Did you grow up in Florida?
I did. I'm a native, and there wasn't too many of us. And as you grow older, you realize there's more than one. So yeah, I'm a native to here.
Where did you grow up? What city in Florida?
I grew up in Tamarack. Didn't realize I was a Tamarack cracker until I came back from college. I went to high school in Fort Lauderdale. I got Cardinal Gibbons.
Oh yeah.
I say they politely asked me to leave, but the truth is I got kicked out after just complete nonsense. And I ended up graduating from Terravella and then went up to Florida State for college.
When did you start to abuse drugs to the point where I always say alcohol and drugs was like my first spiritual experience. When did you realize, okay, this stuff really turns me on? Was there a moment or a time period?
It was love at first sight. As soon as I touched whatever it was, I'm all in everything that I do. I'm extreme. 100% hard in the paint. So, as soon as I started drinking, I was drinking every day. As soon as I started smoking, I was smoking every day. I got into other stuff too that you tell yourself you're doing all these things that you can cope and you perform better when you're on these drugs or alcohol. And it's easy to convince yourself that at the time until you look back on all the carnage that you caused.
And you were pretty much raised in the restaurant industry. Is that right?
I was. I joke about being born or conceived in the dining room there. My dad would come back and forth from work. He would come home, either have a drink or have dinner. Sometimes things were cool. Sometimes it was an argument, and then he'd get back to work. And he was commuting to Lighthouse Point from Tamarack.
How far is that?
It's a 35-minute drive, probably about 15 miles.
What's the biggest city close to like Tamarack? Is that Fort Lauderdale?
Coral Springs and Plantation is out there.
Okay.
Where, Fort Lauderdale is more out east. So Lighthouse Point is between Fort Lauderdale and Deerfield Beach or Boca Raton.
So he's driving back and forth, and this is your normal upbringing, right? I appreciate you saying sometimes there was an argument, sometimes there wasn't, because it sounds like your dad may have kind of has the makeup that you have. That's my story, at least. And
definitely. I mean, my mom was a hardcore Sicilian. I can call her a VIT because I love her to death. But she came from New York. She met my dad in the Bahamas, who was kind of escaping from the world. He's got an incredible story. And, they met in the Bahamas and came here and started this Bahamian restaurant. And the restaurant industry is a whole nother marriage. And, not to backtrack, but, we deal with it every day. You're in an industry where, there's talented people who come to work and make a lot of money and spend it quicker than they make it. And I feel like addiction runs rampant in this industry.
We'll get back to this conversation in a second. But right now, a word from our sponsors. Hi, everybody. This is Pete Souza. I love smoothies, but I don't love smoothie bar prices. With my BlendJet 2 portable blender, I can make smoothie bar quality beverages for a fraction of the price. BlendJet 2 is portable, so you can blend up a smoothie at work, a protein shake at the gym, or even a margarita at the beach. It's small enough to fit in a cup holder, but powerful enough to blast through tough ingredients like ice and frozen fruit with ease. BlendJet 2 is whisper quiet, so you can make your morning smoothie without waking up the whole house. It lasts for 15-plus blends and recharges quickly with a USB-C. Best of all, BlendJet 2 cleans itself. Just blend water with a drop of soap, and you're good to go. With over 30-plus colors and patterns to choose from, there's a BlendJet 2 to complement just about any style. I like the urban camo print myself. So what are you waiting for? Go to blendjet.com and grab yours today. And be sure to use the promo code PETE12. That way you'll get 12% off your order and free 2-day shipping. No other portable blender on the market comes close to the quality, power, and innovation of the BlendJet 2. They guarantee you'll love it or your money back. Blend anytime, anywhere with the BlendJet 2 portable blender. Go to blendjet.com and use the code PETE12. Remember, you get 12% off your order and free 2-day shipping. Shop today and get the best deal ever. Hi, everybody. This is Pete Souza, and we're talking about how to look good. I, of course, need help looking good, and Champions Barber and Salon helps me out. If you're looking for a great haircut or shave experience, go to Champions Salon and Barber. Their skilled barbers and stylists are dedicated to giving you the best service possible. Whether you need a simple haircut or a complete grooming package, they have got you covered. They have 2 convenient locations. I've been to both of them. They're awesome. One in Waco and one in Woodway. You can also book appointments online or through their app, which makes it easy to schedule your next visit. So why wait? Visit Champion Salon and Barber today and experience a cut above the rest.
Yeah, it runs rampant in this industry. We've tried to really give back to help, to help out different causes and foundations that, that give back to the cause and that, that help people in our industry. It's tough. We walk people out of restaurants to death by addiction. And, I feel like I'm constantly around people who are using. So it's difficult, but we've really changed our culture at work to try and create a place where you can come and be a better person. I believe that if I can get people to show up to work and try to be the best versions of themselves inside and outside of work, imagine the kind of workplace that we could have. And that's really been where I fought so hard trying to live my father's legacy. And even though I started my own restaurant next to his, I always felt like I was kind of carrying on his torch. And I spent so much time trying to get out of that. I started a brand, Eat, Drink, and Be Local, that was about building synergy amongst the community and bringing businesses together and fueling off competition, not using it to separate each other. And, built an app, and I did everything I could to really grow outside of the restaurant because I was anxious at my restaurant. And it was recently that we hired a consultant and I dove back into the restaurant business. I kind of admitted that I wasn't a restaurateur and I'm learning to be a great restaurateur, and it is part of my DNA. And I guess my legacy today is that I'm not trying to carry on my father's torch in the restaurant, but I'm trying to use this platform that I have to be a spiritual leader at work.
And so it's pretty much, Papa's Raw Bar, right? That's your spot now. And
that's it.
And it's an incredible comeback story. And you talk about you mentioned you went to Florida State. You and your dad working together, you turned a $300,000 commissary into a $7 million business, right?
Yep.
And then the world changes in 2009. And how do you respond to that when, it sounds like everything is booming and you're still using, right? And I would imagine it's like a candy store, work every day, or maybe it's not, I don't know. But
it was. I was sleeping at work. I was going out every night, coming home late. My wife was pregnant. We went bankrupt, lost 6 homes. I finagled one of my buddies that was an attorney into getting me into a house real quick in Delray, where I stopped paying my mortgage as soon as we moved in. And I didn't save any money. We just still lived hard in the pain. I was taking my wife with me. So, she saw me party and she would party too. Not why she was pregnant, but that was probably one of our darkest spaces that, we're in this new house in Delray Beach, getting away from my restaurant and, not knowing what I was going to do in life, but just I was a complete degenerate. I ended up getting back into serving tables at my dad's restaurant and was probably at my all-time low.
And you had 2 kids while this is going on?
No, my wife was pregnant with our first son.
Okay.
And we had another one come 13 months after. So we stayed in Delray. We ended up opening up. I started waiting tables again. And this opportunity came up to open a restaurant right next to my dad's restaurant. So we did that. And
at the time, though, you weren't sober.
No, and that's what I was going to say. Just because I wasn't sober, I felt like even in addiction, I had so many talents to build great things.
Yeah.
But I was just amazing at demolishing them. So there was always this up and down that it's not like I was a complete waste.
Yeah.
I could lead and do great things, but I also could, hurt a lot of people and demolish things.
I always say, Troy, I was, sooner or later, the junkie was going to show up, right? The alcoholic was going to show. I could create this great thing or come perform at work or meet you and your family, and you'd be like, wow, this guy's great. And then sooner or later, if you gave me enough time, I was going to implode. And I was going to take people with me.
I was going to blow your mind.
Yeah. So in 2014, you take over, right? Like things start to move in the right direction for you, like business wise.
Yeah, we started. I've always had that. I was most successful when my wife met me, and then when we opened up the Raw Bar, it hit the floor running. And then we were running 2 restaurants next to each other, and I got myself into a little trouble. I got arrested, and it was something that was really a shame. I got arrested for domestic violence, and I've never laid a hand on my wife, and wouldn't, and didn't. We just got we got into it outside and yelling, and the neighbors called the cops, and cops came. I'm arguing with them, people that I know and I'm friendly with. I know I'm a great guy until I'm not, and they took me away, and I spent a long weekend in jail, and that's when it wasn't like my all-time low. I've had lower points than that, but it was just came this point in my life that it was the first time that I really admitted that I was an alcoholic, and I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I didn't need help. I really wanted help. I finally realized that I was in a state that I could not get myself out of, and I was desperate for help. And
you ask people, put money together to send their really good friend, you, like a family member, to rehab.
I went to rehab, and they wouldn't take my insurance, so I left. I had my bags packed to do a 30-day rehab.
Yeah.
And I left, and before I got home, I didn't have it in me to go home. I called my drug dealer and my bookie and borrowed money to get into a 90-day IOP program.
What? So that's I read that you got money from friends. So it was your drug dealer and your bookie?
Yeah.
What the hell? How was that conversation?
It was pretty. In hindsight, you would think, why the hell would they want to, they're cutting into their business by them taking care of me? But, I had a lot of respect from them. These are people that have been there for me, and, we had a business respect for each other. I hate to say that, but,
yeah,
we're like-minded in a lot of ways. And I still talk to these guys this day, and we have a very positive influence on each other. We're obviously all doing different things, but
that's amazing.
It's crazy how it all works out.
So you go to a 90-day IOP, and what about your life starts to change? Right away, you catch that bug, whatever it is, right? God doing for you what you can't do for yourself, but you want this sobriety thing so much so that you call these guys up on the way home. And then for me, that's kind of what happened, right? I started to follow suggestions. Like, I was in a blur when I went to rehab, but like when I committed to go to an extended care, I was just like, this feels good. I like it. My life outside of sobriety is a train wreck. Let me do this. And, I went to an extended care. You sounds like you start to follow direction too. What starts to change for you, and how do you start to follow direction?
Well, I started going to active therapy at IOP, and I love my therapist, and I took her suggestions. I started going to a program. My wife had met this incredible guy that Foot Locker picked up, and he was running for sobriety, and he ended up building a snack bar. So it's not a snack bar, FroPro, which is pretty big down here in all food markets. And
it's called FroPro?
FroPro, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Midget was telling me about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they're a big advocate for the recovery community. Everything they do, supports our industry. And I because of my wife training with him, I had somebody to reach out to and call. And he's still my sponsor till today. And he's way more than a friend. He's somebody who holds me accountable and, shoots me straight, which is the last thing you need. I've had friends get sober and they come to me and like, oh, you'd be the perfect sponsor. I'm like, yeah, that's not how it works. If we're going to sponsor each other, we'll both end up out there again. So, I found that person that was tough and that was disciplined and that had a routine and all those things that I wanted in life. That's how I had to go out and find somebody who had the things that I didn't have. And it's become much more than a friendship. It's this brotherhood, and the big thing is accountability. I didn't know how to hold myself accountable or other people accountable. And it really changed everything. I called him and, he said, this is what I do. Meet me at my meeting. And there was that awkward stage for, 3 weeks to a month of going to meetings every day. And when's this guy going to ask me to be a sponsor? What do I do? How do I ask him? It's like asking a guy on a date.
That's so weird. Yeah.
It's really awkward. And, we're doing the work and I just want to get going. I'm still hard in the pain with everything I do. So, I finally asked to be my sponsor. He said, yes, we did the step work together. I even took notes on that. I've been using that platform to take other people through sponsorship the way that I was taken. So I try not to customize it. I stick to how it was done for me, and I try to pass that on. And it's just been an amazing thing. It's really changed my whole life around that. My sole purpose in life, and what I try and preach at work, is to be of service. And I think that's why God put us here on earth. And if you keep it as simple as that, just to be of service and help others. I'm wearing a shirt now that says "Be Kind." It's my slogan for our new concept. But it's that's what it's all about. And it's all full circle. We need to help each other.
How many? So just how many meetings do you get to a week? And I'm not putting you on the spot. You've just got you've got
totally
something coming off you.
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot big time. So my sponsor's not going to like this. I go to one meeting a week.
Okay.
I'm religious about that. It wasn't until I was sober for like 4 years that I hired a business consultant, and I went and met with this consultant, life coach, who ended up being a business consultant for me. And I met her at a Starbucks coffee, Julia Aquino. All systems grow. She's incredible.
What's your name? Julia what?
Julia Aquino.
Okay.
And I left this meeting scratching my head that her suggestion was to do a 90 and 90. And this was not about recovery. This was not about, this was literally to go and, kind of get help for my business and my leadership team, which she ended up following through there. But she knew I was struggling and I was facing all these challenges, and I wasn't going to be who my family needed me to be and who my business needed me to be until I got over these hurdles and could be the best version of myself. And that's basically what a good therapist does. Is they don't really tell you what to do. They tell you what they're listening to from you, and they repeat it back to you. So that's what she heard from that conversation. She's like,
so she's not like a sober person.
No.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It was crazy how my sponsor had never. And I asked my sponsor, I'm like, why didn't you ever make me do a 90-90? I would have done it. He's like, well, you're busy, you got kids, and it's just different. He doesn't have kids. He's married, he has a business, but
Yeah.
just, and my recovery was good and making progress. So I did that. It changed. It definitely changed me drastically.
Let me ask you this: for some people will listen to this, and they want to get sober, but they can't. And we've covered some of that, and we'll cover more of it. But guys that listen to this that are sober, I talk to so many sober guys, myself included. I'm looking in the mirror when I say this, and I like to think I work a decent program, but I talk a lot of shit about, I need a 90 and 9. I need to do that. Blah blah blah. Where did you find the gear with all you have going on in your life to get a 90 and 90 in? How did you do it? Was there a certain time you went to? How did you work that into your busy routine?
I had to go at 6 in the morning. Like my sponsor does a thing, Wake Up the Sun. It's a podcast, and I'm big on getting up early because I can get.
Dude, that's your sponsor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I've heard that. That's great stuff.
Yeah. No, he's amazing. The guy's a prodigy. I love him. God put him in my life.
We can say his name, right? What's his name?
Yeah, Matt Williams.
Yeah, Matt Williams. I've listened to that. I've had guests on here where I've wanted to hear what they had to say, and I'll search them, and they were on his podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a stud. So yeah, I got up early in the morning. I still, even the more that I get piled on my plate, I try and get up earlier because by 9 a.m. and you get up at 5 in 4 hours, I can have a full day.
Yeah.
I have a routine right now. What we talked about before, it's not mentally, physically, and spiritually, and that's when I had everything asked backwards. Everything for me is now spiritually. By being spiritually fit and seeking that connection with God every day, a real connection, then I can be mentally fit. And then I can be physically fit. And it's like, you can't outwork a diet. I got to nutrate properly and hydrate properly. All these things. When I'm just trying to go to the gym, my diet's off, my nutrition's off, my mind's out of whack. When I'm really just trying to kind of.
I love that. I'm going to stop you there. You say, you can't outwork a diet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're eating like shit, it doesn't matter how much, right?
It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't even have to work out. I get up and do my readings and be spiritually fit and eat good. And I'm in the best shape I've ever been in my life.
That's so
Obviously,
true.
I need to do better.
Yeah.
And I'm onto that. But now I know what lies ahead of me, my routine, because I know what to do in the gym and to stay fit. So I've had a lot of experience in that, and that'll all come. But I have a routine now. I get up every morning. We have a little Zen room in the house. I sit down. I read my daily reflections. I have a book that changed my life, and I share on it, and a lot of people have been picking it up and reading it. It's called Moments of Strength. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Okay.
And then every day in there has a little Bible verse, and I open the Bible, and I have a Bible that has a journal in it, and I journal in that Bible. So I'm recovery has brought me closer to God. I've always been close to God, but it's really given me a true relationship. And now more than anybody, that's who I use to hold me accountable. I have my sponsor, I have my brotherhood, I have my sponsorship family, I have people in my life. It's kind of different. I don't really have this huge friend circle anymore. I know a lot of people from the restaurant industry and have all these acquaintances, but I kind of almost still wouldn't think it because I'm very social. But I keep a small circle, and the start of the day, it's me and God, and we get our shit together so I can be the best dad. I have 2 boys, and I want to be not their best friend, but when they wake up and they see me in the book every morning, that's what's up. I want to be an action man. I don't want to pound down their throat of what they should be doing. I'm trying to stop coaching them too because that got tiring. I really want to be a man of action, and I want God to show me how to act every day.
How much time do you spend at the restaurant? And it's not just a restaurant too. You've got all kinds of other stuff going on.
Yeah, restaurant, market, speakeasy. It wasn't a lot, and and it got annoying going there. And people always ask, you're never here. What are you doing here? And my spiel was, we have good management team, and if I'm here, then we got a problem. And now things have changed so drastically since we've hired this consultant, and I dove back in. That I enjoy being there more than ever. That anxiety has been lifted. And we just celebrated our 9-year anniversary, so it's taken about 8.5 years for me to get back into my business.
Yeah.
That's awkward. I have a business that puts food on my table and a team that, manages that business. And, it was an eye opener to see how much I was needed there and what a intricate part I was of that team. That was was difficult trying to be a leader from afar.
What do you share with guys that work in the restaurant industry that you meet in sobriety? Because it happens a lot. Guys in the industry will end up
Are you sure this is what you want to do?
Yeah.
It's tough, man. I'm dealing with people, that I work with today that it's not, if you can, to just really try and get your act together before you get into relationships and into a job, especially around alcohol, I can't relate to it because I never lost a restaurant. I almost did. So I've always had a place to find work. And then I started to get creative and try to do things outside of work. But it's difficult to work in the restaurant industry, especially when you're surrounded by alcohol. I have friends that are bartenders that are sober, and God bless them. It's tough. When I'm at an event, I like to tend bar. I'm an entertainer. It's hard for me to go to some of these events and just socialize and have people drinking and spitting on me.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to say. I totally agree. It's like it's almost like, what can you do? What can you bring to a party? And if that's busy, yeah.
I'll show up with a bottle of Class A in 1942, and I'm the life of the party still, but I just party in a different way.
Yeah,
I don't sit still a lot with the same group of people. I kind of move around a lot, and I got to keep on the go. And I set a 4-hour window usually.
4? That's a lot. That's a lot, right?
It's a lot. I got there, but it's like, hey, let's go late and leave late, or let's go early and leave early. I'd much rather go early somewhere. It's all that takes a lot of time. That wasn't when a lot of people get sober. You start to count down, like, when will I be able to drink again, or when will I be able to do this again? And that'll really get to you. I was a big when I first got sober, I lived in the past a lot. Kind of all that guilt and shame. And
you listen to what a lot?
I lived in the past a
lot.
Oh,
okay, yeah, totally.
You do your inventory, and you really start to think about all the people that I brought down, damn near killed, or it was tragic.
Did you have a lot of guilt about being because you hear the old like saying, like, oh, bartenders are just restaurant people are just feeding drunks more alcohol and stuff like that. Was there guilt associated with that? Did you start telling yourself some bullshit like, oh, I'm responsible for other people? Or yeah.
There's so many people that I got high. There's kids that I got high on my football team and late to practice and high during practice. And I remember I threw somebody a pass as a quarterback, and I threw the ball behind him, and he tore his ACL, and that ruined his whole football career. And I was high at practice, and I was doing good, I thought, but it was just 100%. There's so many things that I have empowered people and taken them down the wrong road. And I know people that have died. I don't live with that guilt today, because I know that people make their own decisions. But I ran hard with them in a circle back in the day, and they didn't get out of it like I did.
Dude, it is but for the grace of God, dude.
Yeah, 100%.
What about your wife? Your relationship with her? I love seeing a relationship bounce back from tumult through somebody working a program in recovery, because we're talking about two totally different people. Like, how has your relationship changed with your wife, and how has she been rewarded for hanging in there with you?
She definitely hung in there with me, man. My wife's slogan is "Kill 'em with kindness," and she's a smooth operator, so I love her to death. And like I said, things got really bad towards the end of my addiction, and then in the first couple of years, having these talks that, because she still drinks and does her thing. And that was really awkward, because I was trying to either diagnose her or control her and manipulate her. There was a lot of jealousy.
In sobriety.
And before and after.
Yeah, totally.
You really learn to kind of check yourself. Where am I at? And then all these kind of things we talk about, staying in your lane and, praying on things and letting go of things. So all that process, but everything that I've learned in the program, I've been able to kind of take home and share in my house. Now we all go to church together, and we don't just go to church to go to church. We hear a message and we're learning from it. We all dive into our devotions. There's an energy in our house that's unbelievable, and it relates to the principles of the program that are similar to the codes of Bushido and the Buddhist and everything that's in the Bible. It's just there's a lot of similarities there, and we are a humble, loving household that respects each other. We're not perfect, but it's the 12-step program has changed my life. It's changed my wife's life. It's changed my kids' life. I use those same principles at work. So it's just fascinating that, that's what got me really close to God. And, I owe it all to my sponsor, my program, and most of all to God. It's having that second chance. And this is a gift that I get to show up today, one day at a time, spread the word. I struggle a lot with the spirituality of, my brother's gotten heavy into maybe a little bit overboard with his spirituality, and that's for him, which is fine. And sometimes you wonder, am I doing enough, bringing my spirituality to work or in my everyday things? My main focus is to be a spiritual leader in my household. And that's where it starts, with me waking up in the morning, with my kids and my wife, my extended family, and then I try and bring that into work. So
you just touched on something. I want to ask you, because this comes up once in a while, right, in meetings, or how do you, somebody that is on the debate squad, right, or is on the fence about spirituality or God, and they come in and you got this person whose life is just completely blown up, and they're protecting their blown up life, right? And like, no, like I don't want to be spiritual, or I don't want to have a higher power. What do you say to that person that is hanging on to this idea of no God or struggling with spirituality, but somebody that obviously needs to get sober because they're talking to you about it?
It's tough, because at the end of the day, if you're not willing to surrender to something, even the fact that I believe, or some people believe in a tree or the universe, but when you're trying to micromanage everything and run the show, that's the problem. When you're, and that was another difficult thing to do. Sober for 3 or 4 years and still not able to let go of things. And still harder today. I'm much better at it, but that surrender and that letting go, I think that's the biggest problem. Some people just aren't ready. And the sad part is, once you've worked the program and you've kind of been around, you realize it's a matter of life and death. It's that serious. I used to be like, whoa, chill out. It's not that serious. But it is. You either let go and surrender, or you go searching for your bottom, or you die. I keep it that serious. I see people go out after 29 years of sobriety that drop bombs in meetings, and they mentor me. And, they come back and they don't even remember going to meetings for 29 years. I don't know where their head's been, and they don't even know how to pray and connect anymore. So it's real.
Yeah, like I don't know that, like if I always say, like, or I've heard people say this, right? Like I'm always ripping stuff off, but if I don't know that I could get back if I went out. I really don't, and I don't know what kind of shape I would be in. And I've realized recently too, like I used to smoke a lot of weed, right? And I would smoke, and I didn't know what was going to happen to me. This is one of the variety of drugs I would do. But I would smoke, and I wasn't quite sure how I was going to feel. Sometimes I'd freak out and get paranoid. Sometimes it'd be great, and I'd have to have like 57 beers to even out. And but then that's the addict behavior, right? Like I would still smoke, even knowing that there was a 50% chance, maybe greater, that I would lose my shit and not have a good time. And I think people forget about like that reality. If you go to enough 12-step stuff and meetings, you hear people come back out that are like, I didn't even have fun. Like I literally didn't even have a good time. And it's this complete, I see it as, for me, like a mind fuck that, like alcohol and drugs are this way, this vehicle to happiness and freedom, when I know right in front of me what works is sobriety and 12 steps. Because I hear it coming off you. I like to think I have some of the same stuff. Like I live pretty free today, and I'm pretty, like you said, you just want to be happy. I have those good days. But I still tell myself once in a blue moon, like, oh, maybe I could, it's amazing.
Yeah, and that freedom, even on a bad day, you can still find that gratitude. It's just a complete mindset change. When you were talking about smoking and all that stuff back in the day, I don't know that I really had a purpose. growing up, I had that American dream that I was going to play football, college football, and that I was going to be an attorney. And I was really smart. I had a 4.2, and my freshman and sophomore year, I was a very good athlete. Could have played quarterback, and boom, I really got into drugs, alcohol, sex. Can't leave that out. The sex and sugar is something that I struggle with today on a daily basis.
Sex and sugar, yeah, me too. Yeah.
The drugs and alcohol are gone, but it's not. I don't want to say that it's not the drug and alcohol problem. My disease is doing push-ups in the parking lot, and I heard that, and I like to say because I have a mental disease, and it's not a weak thing. I just got to stay on top of it by turning things over to God, not trying to lean on my own will, not trying to figure everything out and have the answer for everything. Being open-minded, asking for help all the time. Learning how to listen, that shut the fuck up and listen mentality is huge. It's so big.
Because, I can't hear that enough. Tell me a little bit about your football career. So it seems like, Cardinal Gibbons, it's got great reputation for football in Florida. And
it does now. And we're going back, it's sad to say, but 20 years or 20 plus years. So at the time, I remember I was one of the first kids to get a helmet out there as a freshman because I ran cross country. So I ran like a 5-minute mile. Every senior and junior hated me. They're like, "Why are you running so fast?" I'm like, "I want my helmet." I got a helmet. I made the JV team, and halfway into the season, I got an opportunity. My first pass was like a long touchdown pass, like a 60-yard touchdown pass, and I started JV and came back to grade my sophomore year. But that was when I was balancing. I was training.
Balancing already, yes.
Yeah. And it wasn't that, we want that balance today. But I wouldn't call it balancing back then. I was just, it was, I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. But it was
juggling chainsaws, dude.
Juggling.
Yeah,
juggling. Yeah. Juggling is a great word. And I don't want to be good at juggling. It's not, people think I'm a good juggler. That's not what I want to be known for. I don't want to take on too much, and I want to do things right. But that was it. Juggling the alcohol, the friends, the sex, the drugs, football, school, and then everything just took a back seat to drugs and alcohol. It just got worse and worse and worse, and that's what I wanted to get to. I had no purpose. My purpose was to have fun and make sure everybody around me was having fun, and then I wasn't an alcoholic. I was just crazy. And it was a good way to be.
Did you have a moment where you just felt completely hopeless?
No. I thought about death a lot, or I guess taking my life for attention. Sometimes I may have said that to my mom or my girlfriend. That, the world would be better off without me.
Yeah.
I think that was more probably an attention thing, which was hard too. I didn't think I was a people pleaser or needed attention until you get sober and you put on prescription glasses and you see everything differently. So I was a huge people pleaser, and I was a huge manipulator. I never lied, I never manipulated, and I wasn't controlling until you get sober. And you realize that's all
I was talking to a sober guy about that this morning. Yeah.
We always have some type of agenda. Sometimes I was so good at manipulating, I didn't even know I was doing it. Which is to gain control. That's how my sponsor broke things down. Everything kind of relates to fear. Fear of things not going your way, fear of losing control, fear of losing something or someone. So it's pretty profound when you start to think like that. And I don't know, everything's just changed. Today it's that serenity. I am so calm. And even though I'm deep down, you don't really change, but I'm not this obsessive, compulsive person. I know I can be still. I can go on a walk. I can listen to a podcast. I don't have to be doing 10 things at once. I can take suggestions and not have to reply or not have to fix people. So by no means am I perfect. There's so much work to do, but it's been amazing to see, what working a program and just showing up to life one day at a time, and working these steps, which I relate. I wish when I found out that all this stuff worked, I wanted to go to high schools and share this with kids that were going through that middle school era and coming into high school, and so many things were going on in their life.
Oh my gosh.
Family,
yeah.
hormones. but it's, it doesn't work out that way. You hear that like lighthouse, not foghorn thing. And that's the best thing that I even think God wants us to do is, or for me, is just to act and to walk that life. And people see you. People see the way you show up. Even when you're, by what you do by yourself matters.
A couple more things before I let you go. This has been phenomenal, by the way. I mean, it's just been beyond my expectations, so I appreciate it. When you look at a picture of yourself when you were younger, what do you see? How do you feel? I've been like I've been wrestling with this a little bit recently. I'm curious to see what emotions you go through when you see Troy as a young addict, or maybe even before the addiction was going to wreck him. How do you feel? What feelings go through you?
Restless, crazy. Now I would say irritable and discontent. I certainly didn't feel like it back then. I was having the time of my life. I was a party animal. I was the life of a party. And I don't know if it's the right thing to say, but I really don't have any regrets. Could I have played college ball? Could I have been an attorney and been in a different career and stayed far away from this restaurant industry? Maybe, but I don't think that was God's plan for me. And, today everything's working out. So I don't regret it all, but I look back, crazy would be the number one word. Like a good crazy, not like a mental crazy.
I appreciate you saying that about the regrets, because for me, that's how I met Matt Midget and all the guys I was with this weekend. I went to Richmond to play football, and they found out that I had a heart defect right when I got there, and they kept me around. They kept me, on the team or affiliated with the team. But I mean, it was drug and alcohol related, and I didn't want to see it then. And I was so addicted and so intoxicated with this substance or by this substance and these drugs that I never actually looked at that, right? Like, what does that mean? Like do I regret that or whatever? And then you kind of run from it, I mean, I was an alcoholic regardless, but then I certainly wasn't processing any emotions because of what I was putting in my body. And now I look back and I'm like, okay, it's all right. And I really don't have any regrets, because the estimable things I've done in sobriety, and not been perfect, like you said, but the things I've done have made me a little more comfortable in my own skin, or pretty close to comfortable. And I understand now. And for me, it's big to talk to people like you. And I appreciate you being open and public, because you're a public guy. And I think it's important for people to hear your story, to know that I think it's amazing, dude, that you've navigated, being a restaurateur, at all, and being involved in the restaurant industry at all kinds of levels, and maintaining sobriety and just working hard. Nobody's perfect and shit happens, but you just continue to chase it, which is, I think for me, that's the most important thing. Am I chasing it today or not?
Yep. How did you look at yourself?
Good question. There's a sadness that, this guy doesn't really know what he's doing. Like, to what you said, I had no purpose. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I had no idea. Even when I was using, and I got some interesting jobs, after college, I still didn't I didn't know what I was doing. I had no goals except for today, I am going to put stuff in my body that makes me feel good. And
that was everything, because there wasn't a day without it almost. Right? I can relate.
Yeah. So it was
it's always like a coping mechanism, though, wasn't? And that's why I say it by no means. One of the hardest things that I had to swallow was being an alcoholic when I'm no longer drinking and drugging. I got hung up on that in year 3 and 4 of sobriety for a long time. I talk to my sponsor about it all the time. And then, you hear the isms, the I, self, me. And I don't even like to call them defects. I just like to call them traits, because the defects are like the gold in my pocket today. That's my DNA. That's what makes me. And I didn't know all those things when I was younger, growing up. I didn't know all these defects and traits that I had. I plowed right through them by partying, entertaining, drugging, drinking, shaking, moving, going hard in the pain, as we said. And then there was a time when you take all that out and you stop doing all these things and life changes, you really get a true look at yourself. And, you know, maybe, I was a big piece of shit. So now what? And that's when the things change and you really look at yourself. So today I'd probably admit that I'm an alcoholic and I'll always be one, whether or not I pick up a drink or not. And it's not, you know, the alcohol and the drug is definitely, I can't go back to it. And I know that. And I tell myself that because there's no just one drink or one drug. I don't just take a puff. I smoke 10 blunts. And, you know, I don't just drink a drink. It's just not how I roll. And I've tried that. And I've proven it. But, and you know, maybe sometimes I'll get like, you know, if I've changed the way I think right now and I'm not so obsessive compulsive, maybe I can drink differently. I don't even want to.
Yes, that's the point. Yeah.
I would never want to do anything to jeopardize the way that I am today.
And that's the bullshit that we tell ourselves that would be like a good time or whatever. That to me is like a real reflection of how sick our thinking kind of is.
That's the real alcoholic. If people don't sit there and think, well, when I'm 75, can I go to Napa and have a drink with my wife for the 50th year anniversary? Normal people don't think like that.
Yeah.
That's the insanity. But to me, that's the gift. That's where you flip everything around. Problem, challenge, solution. You know, everything is an opportunity and a gift. Things don't happen to me, they happen for me. So this is a new way of living that no matter what you throw at me, I look back, I was very uncomfortable in my own skin. Today I die to be uncomfortable because I know the growth that comes from that. That's why I jump in a plunge every day.
Wow.
It's not because I like it, but it's like, you show me something uncomfortable, I'm diving in. Because you're bound to be great afterwards. And it's not about knowing what that's like. It just works out that way. You know, so I'm not living on the edge, you know, I'm jumping out of planes. But I seek that. You know, if I'm comfortable, it's not a good place for me to be. It's just complacent and content. I don't operate well like that. I'm not crazy. I know I probably jumped around a lot while we were talking, but
it's awesome.
Yeah, that's how I'm wired, and it's not a bad thing. You know, I want to get out there and help as many people as I can. I want to listen and communicate with as many people as I can. I want to learn from as many people as I can. And I kind of want to stay uncomfortable. Granted, you know, it sounds extreme, but again, I feel like that's how God made me.
Last question for you. When you're at a meeting or you're out there or whatever, and somebody wants to know, how do I do it? Like Troy, somebody's trying to get sober and they just can't get it. You know, it took me, I think 10 years to get a year, you know, like in and out. What do you tell that person that asks you, hey, what do I do?
You try something different, get to a meeting, and that whole surrender and let go. And, you know, it's that lack of giving up control and surrendering that really, I feel like, is the ultimate problem. They say you don't just go back out, that it happens a long time in the making. And I believe that it's all that, it's your decision making and the choices that you make, and which is all control. So when, you know, I'm not a robot just going thoughtlessly through the day, but I really pause and I think a lot, and I don't just react all the time. I'm not so reactive. So those are miracles in its own. If you would have known me my entire life, those are they don't have to be like the miracles that, you know, something spectacular out of ordinary happens. Those are real miracles. And I'm not so reactive, and I'm not so quick to just flip the switch and yell at somebody or to pound my thinking into you. And I can just kind of sit down and listen and not even have to say anything. That right there is a miracle. The pause button, one of the greatest inventions ever. Don't know how I walk through life with never using it. Today, it's like one of my most valuable tools. Just kind of pause. In that pause, though, for me, that's where I find that connection with God.
Yes.
I read like a couple months ago was the most profound thing ever, and I still pray on it today. Instead of praying every day to connect to God, you ever pray and ask God how you get so disconnected every day? It sounds the same, but it was mind blowing. That night I had a talk with God, and I just asked for the ways that, you know, what am I doing that is causing me to be disconnected. Forget about how do I connect. What am I actively doing? What choices am I making every day? What's my part in it? What am I doing that's causing that disconnection? And then it just started to roll off like a gratitude list. And I started to really understand, like, wow, okay, that's what's going on. But they're your choices. And that's what gets us into trouble, and that's what puts us into service. Is choices, habits. Remember that book, Atomic Habits? If that doesn't change your life.
Atomic Habits?
All this kind of, yeah. It's just, you build these habits, and it is. They're just choices that become habits, and you can change that.
Troy, you're the man. Go ahead. Finish your thought. This is great.
I said, if I can do it, anybody can do it. It's not woe is me. It's just, I'm not taking all the credit for it. It's not, at the end of the day, it's not me that's been doing it. That's surrender.
Well, that's the key.
If you're trying to get sober and you're doing it on your own, that's the fucking problem. And you can't pound it into somebody. So sure, why don't you go out and keep doing what you're doing? Or, like my sponsor says, the program's not a buffet. You don't come and take what you want. And, try it. And people recover in different ways. I've had to learn that too.
Yeah, like everybody has their own journey. And the unfortunate part is, and you touched on it, like, somebody goes back out and it's Russian roulette. I mean, they're walking through a minefield, and there's nothing you can do but hope you see them again.
They say it does. I don't want to go back out there and start shooting needles.
Yeah.
That wasn't me.
It gets worse. Yes.
Story.
Okay. Yeah.
So I hear from everybody. I had a guy I was working with that, he died like 6 times. He would OD and go to the hospital. His heart would stop 6 times. That's like, do that once and it's an eye opener.
Yeah.
How real is that disease? Not the drugs. The drugs are addicting. How, what's going on upstairs? The thinking pattern that, that you're just going to keep that insanity, keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. That's pretty heavy, man. It's pretty heavy that you're willing to play that Russian roulette like that. That keeps me on my toes. More so than the people going out after 29 years, the newcomers coming in, or the people like that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
It's real. And it is a disease of the mind. I wrote that in my book when I was writing it. It's disease of the mind. That's the disease. It's the isms. It's not the alcohol. It's the ism at the end. I, self, me. I'm the problem. And I can be the solution too. If I surrender, let go, let God in, use the tools, follow the principles, ask for help, take suggestions. Not only can I be the best version of myself, now I can actually start to help other people. People see me change too, and they want to change.
Yes, 100%.
I don't know why it's women more than men, but they call me, and the first thing I do is not try and fix them. I turn them on to other women that I know in sobriety that live strong, healthy life, and work a good program. And I wouldn't judge me that I go to meetings 1 day a week. I try and share a couple of times a year. I pick up commitments. I talk to my sponsor as much as I like to. One of my sponsors, I love him to death, is a barber. So when I get in his seat, that's our time.
Yeah.
I get a haircut. So it's different for everybody. I don't want to cast judgment on it, but my big thing is my life out of whack if I can't pray and I can't connect with God. And sometimes that's when I'll hit up 2 or 3 or 4 meetings in a week to kind of dial back in.
I love what that therapist told you, because they kind of regurgitate what they hear, like you said. And regurgitation isn't a good word, but you get it. And she said, "Hey, you need a 90 and 90."
Yep. And it did, and it got me to where I needed to be, and kind of set fire, set that trail that I needed that. I needed that spirituality. And now I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life, and it's not at all what I thought it would be. I don't have as much money as I thought would happiness equal. I don't have 2 wives and different marriages and all these hot cars.
Well, and you also said, dude, you don't know what's next. Like, you're excited to see what God has in store for you, which is kind of like,
that's right.
You don't know what's around the next corner.
No, and I don't care.
Yeah, and if it's uncomfortable, you grow from it. And if it's a pot of gold, you enjoy it. And it's just kind of you try to stay on the beam during the whole time.
Yep.
Hey, so the bar is Papa's Raw Bar. Where exactly is it for people? People listen to this all over the country. I'm not saying like a million people do. But
it's in Lighthouse Point, Florida, one of the most treasured cities in the United States. It's not Lighthouse Jupiter. It's just Lighthouse Point.
Okay.
Next to Deerfield in Fort Lauderdale. We've been rocking there since before I was born, 1976. The market started. We have an Instagram page at Papa's Raw Bar LHP.
I'll put it in the show notes.
We're opening up a new concept in the Cove Shopping Center, which is the most nostalgic center in South Florida. It's Asian Kitchen. And, they coined us as three white boys opening up an Asian kitchen. We're next to a new brewery, so that's going to be fun. Something we're all passionate about is that umami food that really resonates with your palate. And you can follow me on Instagram at Troy Ganter. I try and put myself out there in the food world. I try and, practice fellowship and be a disciple. So that's where we're at.
You're doing a hell of a job, dude. And by the way, thank you so much for giving me your time. And I really appreciate you bearing with us for the first 15 minutes. You definitely passed the spirituality test.
I'm glad you're sober, and I'm glad you're out there trying to help other people and share your story and get stories out of other people. I think it's important that we continue to carry the torch.
It's all we can do, man. And I appreciate you. Hopefully we're helping people, and that's really, like you said, I have a purpose today, and that's a far cry from where I was 11, 12 years ago.
Yeah, and a big thing too, when you kept asking, I guess the number one answer would be you're not alone. We're in this together.
Hey, thanks so much, Troy. I appreciate you, dude.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Later. Thanks so much for listening to The Payoff with Pete. Once again, I'm Pete Souza. And of course, we are part of the Rogue Media Network. All kinds of good podcasts you can find at roguemedianetwork.com. And of course, you can find this podcast and all those other ones wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, other spots like that.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.